Good evening, everyone. It is March 21st at 7 p.m. and I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority of Richfield. And first thing we need to do is consider a one-time adjustment to the term expiration dates of Commissioner Hra Daniels to account for bylaw modifications. And I'll turn it over to Executive Director Palman to explain what's going on.
Yes, thank you, Chair Supple. Last month, the HRA adopted modifications to its bylaws in order to correct the staggering of citizen commissioner terms. Under the revised bylaws, citizen commissioner terms will expire on February 28th and new appointments will begin on March 1st. In future years, recruitment and appointment will be scheduled to coordinate with these dates. However, during the transition year, new appointments will not be considered by the council until March 22nd. Given that Commissioner Hra Daniels' term of appointment was not originally scheduled to expire until November of this year, we are recommending that her current term be extended from February 28th to the date on which she is reappointed or a new citizen commissioner is appointed to take her place. The date could not exceed November 20th of 2022. And staff is happy to answer any questions. This is really just a one-time correction to adjust for these changes we made to the bylaws.
Okay, I will go ahead and move to approve a revision to the current term limit of Commissioner Hra Daniels, setting her term to expire upon her reappointment or the appointment of a new Housing and Redevelopment Authority Commissioner, whichever comes first, but not to exceed November 20th, 2022. Is there someone that would like to second that?
I will second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. City Clerk Sinning, could you please call the roll of the commissioners that are currently part of the commission?
Most definitely. Chair Supple?
Aye.
Commissioner Regan-Gonzalez?
Aye.
And Commissioner Onosorg?
Aye.
All right, all three commissioners have voted aye, so the resolution or the motion passes. And so welcome back, Commissioner Hra Daniels.
Thank you for having me.
All right, then we'll move on to the open forum. To participate in the open forum live, you can call 612-861-0651. Administrative Assistant Dubois, is there anyone on the line?
Chair Supple, we do have a caller on hold and I will send her into the meeting now.
Thank you. And am I correct that the caller will need to state her name and address before speaking? Okay. Hi, caller. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi, this is the HRA meeting, and if you're calling in to give input, please state your name and your address, and then you can go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Lisa Caldwell, and I'm calling from Maple Grove, 6301 Quinwood Lane North in Maple Grove. I'm calling on behalf of Sylvia Jesse, who lives in Richfield at 6612 Logan Avenue. Should I just go on?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Should I continue? Okay. Sylvia hired me to help support her. I worked for her for 10 years, part-time. She has a has a disability. She's lived in Richfield since 1977, so she's owned that house since for 45 years. She developed a hypersensitivity from hypersensitive immune system from toxic chemical exposures from her job in 1970s. She can't tolerate chemical smells in the community, including exhaust from cars, lawn herbicides, laundry chemicals that are released from people's dryer vents, etc. It was hard on her when the city tore down the house that was next door on the corner of Logan and 66. I was working with her then. She needed a lot of management to deal with the health effects from that tear down. So I just wanted to really advocate for her. Now the city is wanting to use that empty lot to build another house back on that space that they removed it from a few years ago. And it'll cause Sylvia a great deal of extra stress mentally and physically. She's in her 70s, and I really wish there was a way that I'd like to advocate for the city not developing that corner and maybe just leaving that alone, so that she does not have to deal with all that she will have to if they do put that up.
Thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so. Thank you for considering what I'm saying.
All right, and we will consider that for the public hearing when it opens later. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair Supple, I do have another caller holding. This is Sylvia that I'm going to send into the meeting now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for holding.
Hello, you can go ahead now. Just say your name and address before you start. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Please state your name and your address before you start your testimony.
Okay, yes. And I hope you can understand my voice. It's Sylvia, SE6612 Logan Avenue South.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I should keep talking.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I am a woman that's going to be right next door to the house, and you're hoping to build with Habitat for Humanity, and I was very surprised when this happened, because it's made it like a park. They have evergreens and flowers planted and an irrigation system, and it's very nice. And I think my friend Lisa just spoke. My phone is in the other room from the television, but I deal with chemical sensitivity, and I'm very sensitive to many, many different things, and I know they're going to be using diesel trucks and cement trucks, and I have a very difficult time with those. So it would be the best if they wouldn't build, but I will say Habitat and the HRA people and Maria have all been very nice to work with, but I would rather that they didn't build this house, because it's going to be very hard on me with my chemical sensitivity, and Um, and I have many people praying about this. Oh, I appreciate what Habitat has been doing to try to accommodate me. But it I'm just wondering what they're going to be putting in on 66 and Newton. And if it's been nice after going through 66th Street and all the chemicals that have presented for over 2 years, it's been nice to have a break. So I appreciate your consideration.
I'm sorry. I just didn't unmute myself. I'm sorry. Thank you for your call. We'll be discussing this more when we get to the actual public hearing. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I'm surprised this has been pushed through so fast. It just seems like there wasn't enough time to try to prepare. Can I talk again when they get to this topic, or is this it?
I believe you could call in if you want to stay and follow along on TV and come back for the public hearing. That would be fine. It might be a while because we have some reports in between, but yes, you could.
Well, I don't know if should I state concerns with there's an irrigation system on the property now, and that would have to be torn out.
We
And
will. Okay.
I didn't know if I should get into detail with some of the things.
If you want to bring some of that up at the public hearing, you can, but we'll ask, when we bring it up with staff, we'll ask about the irrigation system and they can address that at that point.
Yes,
All right, well,
and there were some other things. They moved the garage to the other side, which will help. We just have to figure out the venting for the washer and the dryer. That is not going to be vented towards my house. So Chad from Habitat was going to try to address and figure that out.
all right, well, we'll ask about that when we get to the time for the public hearing and the questions as well. Thank you for
Okay.
calling in.
And am I going to be on TV now? Because I'm in a different room.
Yep, your voice is on the recording on live TV, yes.
And now,
It is on now and it will be at the public hearing as well.
you'll repeat what I'm saying.
Well, if you call back and add anything, it'll be on during the public hearing. What you've said now is already on the public record.
Oh, okay. But if I go in and listen to the TV, will I hear that?
It's on about a 2-minute delay, so some of it has probably already been broadcast, but you may be able to catch the end of your comments.
Okay. Okay, thank you. It's an interesting thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Administrative Assistant Dubois, is anyone else on the line?
Yes, Chair Supple, we do have another caller and I will send them in now.
All right, thank you. Hi, caller. Please state your name and your address, and then you can make your comments.
Hi, this is Tyler Olson at 1806 West 66th, and we are just generally in favor of the house going in. I think it's a good cause. I think as long as reasonable accommodations are made for the surrounding neighborhood, then yeah, we're in support.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Administrative Assistant Dubois, is there anyone else on the line?
Chair Supple, we do not have any other callers.
All right, well, okay, then we're going to move on from open forum, and we will come back if there are any comments during the public hearing. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the regular Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting of February 23rd, 2022, and the concurrent City Council Housing and Redevelopment Authority and Planning Commission work session of March 8th, 2022.
So moved, Commissioner Regan Gonzalez.
Second, Commissioner Reese Daniels.
It's been moved by Commissioner Regan Gonzalez and seconded by Commissioner Vries Daniels to approve the minutes. Are there any corrections or discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and take the vote. Thank you.
Chair Supple,
Aye.
Commissioner Regan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Vries Daniels,
Aye.
Commissioner Onosorg.
Aye.
Thank you. We've approved the minutes. Next, I'm going to turn it over to staff for the 2021 Housing and Redevelopment Authority and Economic Development Authority year in review. Are you going to do both of them now or just one now and one at a later meeting for the
We're
EDA?
gonna do the whole show right now.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yes. So housing specialist Kate Aitchison's going to pull up our presentation for us, and then we will get started. All right. It worked great, Kate. Thank you. Okay, so this is one of our favorite things to do every year, to talk to you about the good work that you have done and the good work that we've been able to do as a team. So the story of 2021, we've got a bunch of different buckets that we put these items into, but we're going to start with redevelopment to cover affordable housing, our business assistance programs, rental housing, home ownership, and then the staff behind all of this work. Thank you. So what we do is more than just numbers and dollars. It's about the people. The HRA and EDA programs helped 504 households this year alone. This year's presentation is going to be structured a little differently than we've done in the past, and it's going to focus on some of the stories behind the numbers, but we did want you to be able to see how those 504 households broke down amongst the different HRA programs, things like our first-time homebuyer households, our remodeling consultants, our Section 8 households, loan payoffs, energy squad visits, all of these great things that we do. But we're going to jump right into redevelopment first, and we'll cover a couple of details here and then move on to the story. In terms of rental housing, construction continued on the Riley project. This is the second project in the city that involved preservation and rehabilitation of existing naturally occurring affordable housing. That project is expected to be completed this May. Also under construction now, beginning in 2021, this project began in 2021, and that's the second half of the RF64 project. It is the Hra Apartments. That's 237 market rate apartments across from Target and Home Depot. They're being constructed by Schaefer Richardson and going up really quickly. The construction is expected to be complete on those projects in June and July of this year. After some significant pandemic-related challenges, the HRA was able to help push the Linview project over our financing finish line, and it's now under construction at 65th and Lyndale. I'll talk about that one a little more in a minute. And then in terms of owner-occupied housing, we've got construction of the RF64 townhomes that continued this year. However, these two were impacted significantly by the pandemic. We'll talk about that. And these latest 8 units will be sold at market rate rather than an affordable price, which the first 32 were done at. And then we've got a couple of projects in process now. After many, many years of having a brewery on our wish list, one is looking at a location in Richfield. The planned site of Benefactor Brewery is located just north of Lake Winds in the Lyndale Gardens development. And the HRA provided some gap financing to help make that happen. And then a very exciting opportunity came our way last year when we were approached by the estate of Jerry Mathwig. He was the former owner of Metro Sales, with an offer of a donation of part of their property in the southeast corner of town. The property is valued at about $2.4 million. And ownership of this piece, we'll see in a slide, in a few slides from now, will offer the HRA additional influence over what happens in this corner of town because we already own another key piece of property there. As far as we know, this is the first time in history that this has happened, that the HRA has received a donation like this. And we're really looking forward to continuing our partnership with the Mathwig estate in 2022 as we look at opportunities to develop here. So the real story of 2021 were supply chain issues, and they forced staff and developers and pretty much everyone in the world to pivot again and again. Going back to the Linview project, which is shown here in that top slide, there were significant challenges to that project related to material costs. In May of 2021, lumber prices reached a high of nearly 3 times the pre-pandemic record. So that obviously will challenge any project's pro forma. The HRA was able to help that project by providing gap financing to help retain the commercial space on the ground floor and an adjustment to the duration of the TIF assistance from 17 to 20 years. And those adjustments helped to push that project over the finish line. It is now under construction. I'm sure you've all seen out there. This project is also another great example of the ways in which the development that we've been working on over this past 10 years has helped us and helped us to be more creative. So first, there was the additional assistance that we could give when the developer came back and said, we're thinking of removing this commercial. We had additional assistance available. We could offer that to help plug that hole. But also in this case, the project will not only be providing 10 2-bedroom affordable units, it will also be contributing 15% of the TIF to the Housing and Redevelopment Fund. So normally in years past, we've been able to barely eke out one or the other in terms of affordability or pooling. And in this case, we were able to get full pooling plus affordability. And our ability to be creative and negotiate has increased now that developments don't need the entire 26 years of increment to fill their project gaps. And that is because of the other development work we've done in town. So just building on our successes. The RF64 project is in the bottom right corner. That's another project that struggled to adjust to financial impacts of the pandemic. The project saw a 32% cost increase, which forced sales prices out of the affordable range. So staff explored a variety of options and determined that the HRA would be better served by investing our public money in more affordable homeownership opportunities than this project could provide. We agreed to let the developer sell the final units as market rate if the current market conditions continued, which they have. And that's still a win by providing this townhome opportunity for ownership in the city, which we don't have much of. In addition, we transferred the land sale proceeds into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, where they'll be used to provide affordable ownership opportunities throughout our down payment assistance program and the land trust. All right, moving on from there. We've got some pictures of our ongoing projects. This is the Riley project, the one that I spoke of first, with the rehab of the NOAA units there in the foreground, and then the new building to the back. Another view of the Riley. Again, this one opens in May. This is the RF64, I'm sorry, this is the Hra project, which is part of the RF64 development, the apartments along Richfield Parkway. There's another shot. We really like their sign there, it's like a smiley face. Here's the Lynn View under construction. This is at 65th and Lindale. Those buildings are all down now. A nice action shot. Another view of the RF64, or I'm sorry, this is the other side of that project, the RF64 townhomes. Those are the newest units under construction now. And this one is a great shot that shows you the townhomes with the apartments behind and how the architecture of those projects is working together. This is a rendering of the Benefactor Brewery project. They'll be going to the Planning Commission and City Council in upcoming weeks to request approval of that. And then this is the donation property that I mentioned. The 1600 property is the one that was recently donated to us. You'll see the Mathwig, still state-owned properties in the center, and then another HRA-owned property right at the entrance to that 77th Street tunnel. So in the coming months, we're going to be conducting a study and really look at how we can utilize and maximize development in this corner. Okay, so moving to business assistance. In 2021, we were able to help 18 local businesses. 4 of those were through Displaced business grants. Those are available to businesses when the city or HRA contributes financially to a project that displaces them. They are required to relocate in Richfield to be eligible. The grants cover things like moving expenses, renovations to new spaces, signage, lighting, increases in rent, things like that. The projects that we helped were displaced because of the Lynn View project. In this case, we helped Boost Mobile, Medriano Agency, which is an insurance company, New Life Wellness, and also Richfield Mobile. We also continued our partnership with CEE to issue our energy efficiency business grants. We spent the full $20,000 on those grants this year. That covers 20% of energy efficiency upgrades for a maximum grant amount of $2,500. And this program piggybacks on programs sponsored by Xcel Energy that increase efficiency in general in a business. Several businesses were helped there as well. We spent, I said $20,000. So we can move on there. Just a little bit more on the Displaced Business Grant. This was a great example of the EDA responding to the needs of local businesses as we heard them. This program was approved by the EDA in December of 2020, and it was specifically in response to the Lynnview project, which was going to displace a number of small businesses at 65th and Lyndale. The tenants of the former business were concerned about their options and were looking for ways to stay in Richfield. The challenge here was that the rents at these businesses were well below market rate. But between the EDA assistance and some assistance from the developer who offered the services of their broker to help find spaces, we were able to help those 4 businesses, like I said. Businesses were eligible if they had been open for at least 3 months, and again, if they were relocating within Richfield. So some success there. And these are some pictures from New Life Wellness. They relocated over by our Cedar liquor store. And these are some shots of the interior of their new space, which just looks wonderful. And we're so happy that they were able to stay. Here's the new location of Boost Mobile. They moved over to Richfield Shops. Now I'm going to turn it over to Assistant CD Director Julie Urban to talk about our affordable housing in 2021.
Thank you, Melissa. So the HRA's commitment to affordable housing took several big steps forward in 2021. In March, the HRA approved revisions to our inclusionary housing policy to encourage our priorities of larger bedroom sizes, deeper affordability, and more accessible housing choices. So while we've unofficially required affordable housing in HRA-funded projects way back to the year 2000, since we formalized the policy more recently, the HRA has facilitated 229 new and preserved affordable homes, and 148 of these units were approved, preserved, or under construction in 2021. So continuing, several of the other things that we accomplished last year. Back in June, the state legislature approved special legislation that allows us to transfer pooled tax increment into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund over the next 4 years. This gives us the ability to access several $1 million that we can use for new construction and rehabilitation of affordable housing. We anticipate using these funds to help housing developments meet our affordable housing priorities. And in 2021, the HRA also approved the transfer of $640,000 in land sales proceeds from the Cedar Point 2 redevelopment project area to the trust fund to be used for affordable homeownership programs. Our new home program is our longtime affordable homeownership program that includes both new construction and acquisition rehab. While there were no new affordable homes added in 2021, time was spent teeing up a vacant lot for new construction, which you'll be hearing about soon, and then also setting aside funds for the land trust to be able to continue its work in 2022 of purchasing and rehabbing homes and then making them permanently affordable through the land trust mechanism. 2021 also saw the introduction and reintroduction of 2 all affordable housing developments. We worked with both MICC and MWOF to apply for grants and to prepare for tax credit and bond financing applications in 2022. Melissa already mentioned the Riley, where 22 units of existing NOAA housing will be rehabilitated and affordability preserved. But we also engaged a new partner in the fight to preserve affordable housing in Woodlawn Terrace. We love this picture. On December 30th, the 30 homeowners of Woodlawn Terrace purchased their 53-site manufactured home community and became Minnesota's 10th resident-owned manufactured home community. Woodlawn is referred to as a hidden gem by its residents, over half of which have lived in the community for 20 years or more. Woodlawn provides an oasis of housing affordability in an area of the metro that is in dire need of it. After the closing, monthly lot rent will be $625, less than half the fair market cost for a 2-bedroom apartment in Hennepin County. The city of Richfield has been a strong supporter of the Woodlawn Terrace Cooperative since the beginning of the project, recognizing the importance of preserving the community's affordability and the value of maintaining local ownership. Staff and elected officials met with the co-op board and went on a tour of the community back in September. The HRA then committed $350,000 towards the cooperative's municipal water connection project and an additional $60,000 toward the demolition of abandoned homes and some rental unit rehab. In 2022, just another sneak peek of what's coming, is we hope to provide down payment assistance to people purchasing any of the 21 new housing units that will be brought into the community. If you haven't had a chance yet to watch the recent Moment with the Mayor, I would encourage you to do so. Mayor Reagan Gonzalez does just a beautiful job of showcasing this great story. And we'll move on to our programs for our renters in our community. Our first program, which is sponsored by the Economic Development Authority, is our apartment remodeling program. The challenges of remodeling during the pandemic continued in 2021, and we processed just one apartment remodeling loan. New windows and a repaired parking lot were the results of the loan to this 11-unit building that houses residents who receive supportive services. Our Section 8 program in 2021, the big story near the end of the year was the preparations to open our Section 8 waiting list just recently in January. We purchased computer software, conducted training, set up a system, and ended up with a very simple, successful, and easy to implement system for the waiting list. And that's a little bit of a spoiler in that we opened the list for 10 days in January of 2022, and we received over 3,700 applications for our 600 slots. And our staff continues to work hard on getting that waiting list into place. An additional fact to let you know is staff actually has individually contacted applicants who applied to the Section 8 list that might be eligible for our Kids at Home program and has invited them to apply to that program. Unlike Section 8, we currently do not have a waiting list for the Kids at Home program. And speaking of our Kids at Home program, we helped 23 families in 2021. Some of the highlights from the year is we distributed COVID testing kits and high quality masks to all of our families. Our parent share group continued virtually, except we were able to host a health and wellness night in the summer where we offered a meal, yoga, massage, and other self-care activities, and had kids watched by babysitters so that our parents could relax. We are really hoping to return to in-person parent share meetings this spring. Our families are really hopeful to get back together. They've created a strong community and really want to be able to do that in person. We dream of adding up to 10 families to the program this year. And I just want to mention that applications are currently being submitted, are welcomed. So they're due this Friday, March 25th. And the story about Kids at Home on how it inspires change. This is not from this last year. This is from 2 years ago. You'll notice no masks, so that's the clue. But the pictures were so wonderful from a celebration we had 2 years ago. We wanted to share them. So we love to boast about our program, and we wanted to give you some updates on our program participants. You'll recall this is the program that helps support working parents, mostly women, many of them single parents, in taking small steps needed to achieve goals and dreams of self-sufficiency. The first way this is done is by offering rental subsidies over the course of 4 years, allowing households to save money and put it towards one of their dreams. Those dreams might include paying off debt, buying a reliable car, going back to school, or enrolling their child in extracurricular activities. The second way the program helps participants is through our Parent Share program. This is a required Thursday night parent group that meets to cover a variety of topics, touching on things like parenting, financial planning, health and wellness, cooking, hobbies, and mental health. It is in these sessions that participants are able to learn from one another, support one another, and get inspired for the things they are hoping to accomplish. It's where the dream of self-sufficiency becomes a reality, and they are then able to cast a wider net and hope for more. One thing that is really exciting from 2021 and into 2022, 3 of our families out of the 23 are home to first-generation college students, including one that got a full scholarship to the University of Minnesota's engineering program. These parents are able to provide the necessary stability to their children and resulting academic success, in part because of the Kids at Home program. And I will say that we are losing 2 families because they have purchased homes, and we have one former participant who is currently in the process of looking for a home. We hear over and over again that people think this program is just too good to be true. We're so proud of the program, of our staff that run it, but mostly proud of the participants that are working so hard to find success for themselves and their children. And they're just too fun pictures not to share. And I'll turn it over to Kate to talk about our homeownership programs.
I love hearing about kids at home. All right, thank you. I'm Kate Aitchison. I'm one of our housing specialists, and I'm happy to be with you here tonight to finish us up with our programs for homeowners. So some of the details this year, our first-time homebuyer program is one of our most popular and busy programs, and we did 11 loans this last year, lending $200,000 total. We are meeting our goals with our program, especially looking at equity gaps in homeownership rates and how we can best serve folks that non-traditionally have been served by our homeownership market here in Richfield. So of our 11 loans, 91% were to non-white households, 73% of the households had children in them, 9% had household members with disabilities, and 27% were Richfield renters. So we're really thrilled to see those numbers and so excited. With Richfield Rediscovered, this is our new construction program. We have one house currently under construction, began last year. That's at 6625 2nd Avenue. And then we acquired one more property for the program. That's 6326 14th. In terms of our remodeling, transformation home loans were busy. We had a lot of homeowners struggling with similar supply chain issues last year, so it did make timing challenging for people who are trying to get projects done. We did 5 loans last year for over $100,000 in total lent. We have a lot of interest in the program right now, and we're fielding a lot of calls for people that are eager to keep remodeling their homes and transform their homes so they can stay in Richfield forever. And then finally, our deferred loan program helps fund health and maintenance repairs for households that can't afford them. So it provides full cost up to $30,000, and it does a lot of things like roofing and siding and windows for some of our moderate and low-income households. 7 projects were completed last year and 3 new loans began. This is a program that's managed by Hennepin County for us, and they do a great job. We also have ways to give people advice, and that's through our architectural and remodeling advisors. And combine those two programs, saw 72 visits across the city, helping people kind of, visualize what they want to do, how they're dreaming about using their house, and then, making it more of a reality. With our loan portfolio, we have over 350 loans, and of those, we did 23 subordinations last year with lots of people refinancing, and we had 14 loan payoffs. And so those loan payoffs help recycle funds into our programs for more loans in the future. The Home Energy Squad program continues to just keep chugging along and helping Richfield homeowners find efficiency gains to be made in their homes, and there were 37 visits. We also try and do some events throughout the year, and we had a virtual realtor workshop last spring, but unfortunately had to cancel our home tour just due to COVID concerns and uncertainty. We're really crossing our fingers and hoping we can do a home tour this fall. And I think people will be eager to see what people, did during the pandemic. We've had a lot of big projects come through, and it would be awesome to showcase those. And then finally, our department and kind of an interdisciplinary team has been working on the Just Deeds project to help bring awareness and education around restrictive covenants to the community. We had 24 covenants discharged last year. There's been 163 properties that have requested review of their title or their property records. And we've been presenting at different groups, things like the Farmers Market, PennFest, the Human Rights Commission, and there's a display up at City Hall as well. But the story, like our favorite story and our favorite program to boast about, is our first-time homebuyer program. It's been such a joy to get to know some of these households that are using our program, and I wanted to just share a little bit about that with you. 2021 was our 3rd year of the program and our busiest. We met some really unforgettable people, and it was exciting to walk with them as they were journeying towards home ownership. A lot of them, their dream is to become a homeowner, and it's more than just home ownership. It's for security, it's for safety, it's for building equity. It's for finding peace or finding a place to call home and finding a community. And so it's really fun to be with them as they do that. One of our applicants was a single mom living in Minneapolis, and she and her daughter were working with her current landlord and Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity in their lending center to really try and get her into home ownership. Her landlord had offered her to sell her a house he owned in Richfield, And so she was seizing that opportunity, and Habitat was helping to make sure that it would be something she could afford. She was really needing to move because she was struggling with a neighbor. She had a restraining order against this person, and it was continually being violated. And she just was so anxious and stressed out and felt so unsafe in her home. We were really excited to be able to work with her. And one thing we were able to do was grant her an additional $5,000 in down payment assistance via an executive director approval. And that was to make sure she could find safe housing in Richfield, or safe housing in general. Luckily for us, it's in Richfield. But what we've done is we've added that as another criteria to our program. So if somebody comes to us and has that need for safe housing, we can authorize an additional $5,000 in funding for them with executive director approval. We're really thrilled that she's in Richfield now. She works here in the community and her daughter attends school here. And we're really thrilled that she was able to make this work and make Richfield home. Another household we were able to work with was a family of 7, and they found a house in Richfield that was going to fit them all, and they were so excited. And it was our first home with a Sharia compliant loan or mortgage product. So that was a really interesting experience working with that lender to make sure that our program complied with Sharia law and was going to be acceptable for them. It did, which was great, and they were able to move in towards the end of the year. And then finally, we had another application come in right at the end of the year, and it was a Latino household that was really pooling all their family resources to purchase a home. We have this last year made some loans with households that have ITINs. So that's if you don't have a social security number, you have an ITIN. But unfortunately, to qualify for that type of loan product, those households are really subject to really large down payment requirements and then higher interest rates, which makes it really challenging to purchase, especially in this market when prices are so high. Luckily, this household wasn't an ITIN, but the way they were able to make it work was that the 2 young adults in the household applied for the mortgage. And I don't know what you were doing when you were 18, but I was definitely not qualifying for a mortgage for my family. So it was really inspiring to see that they were, you know, using their income and their family resources to find a house for their family. We were really excited to be able to help them. And like I said, very impressed by them. And so they're here in Richfield now too. So that is our story. We're so excited to hear from them. I have some pretty pictures to show you from some of the remodeling projects. Now get ready. This one is stunning. So this is a before and after. This is the before, and these are the afters. They're obviously professional photos, but it's beautiful. We have looked at them very closely, and it is truly a before and after. It is the same house, but lovely. Maybe they'll be on our home tour. We can ask them. Another kitchen remodel in an older Richfield house. This one also ran into supply chain issues and, you know, had to wait 4 months for a window to get their project finished, but they're thrilled to be in their new kitchen. This is the new house that's under construction on 2nd Avenue. So that was the existing substandard house that was removed. And then this is going to be the 2-story home. And it also has a basement accessory dwelling unit as well that'll be roughed in and ready to go. And then finally, a basement remodel. We know there's a lot of Richfield basements out there that need a facelift, and this was a family that was excited to add living space to their household. And I'll turn it back over to Melissa.
Thank you. I love listening to those stories. So this year, like everywhere, we had a lot of changes to staff, and I want to take a couple minutes to highlight the staff that left or is leaving, and also talk about our team. Cindy Beldy retired in September. She was a valued member of our Section 8 team, and her fun-loving spirit is really missed in our department. John, as you all know, accepted a position with the City of North St. Paul as their city manager. And you're all familiar with his steadfast leadership, and I have some big shoes to fill in that role. And then Mert Link. Mert is our CD accountant. She is transitioning to retirement. She's working part-time really to help us out. Mert has been with the city for nearly 30 years. She started in the finance department, and then eventually, because of the complexity of HRA finances, she moved down to become the community development accountant in 1998. Her expertise in all things TIF and her assistance in managing all of our contracts, our developer reimbursements, and all things accounting and budgeting throughout the years has just been invaluable to us. Beyond that, Mert has been here for many years, and she's a wonderful, wonderful friend to many of us in CD and throughout the city. As she transitions to retirement, we're going to miss her both professionally and personally. She's been a true public servant, and the city and HRA have really been so lucky to have her. So she is transitioning this year, and we will be working to fill that position. She'll help us make that transition. And then onto our current team. So I just want to say that it's the month of March, and we celebrate Women's History Month. And this is an incredible group of women that I'm so proud to work with. Julie Urban, you all know well. She's been promoted to our Assistant CD Director. Her knowledge of housing policy and redevelopment made her an obvious choice for this promotion, and she's going to do wonderfully in this new role. We're so happy to keep her. Mert Link, I just talked about. Michelle Luna, we welcomed Michelle back after a brief stint in Minneapolis. She's part of our Section 8 and Kids at Home team. Talisa Parsons, she's also part of that Section 8 and Kids at Home team. Talisa is such a hard worker, and she is a ray of sunshine in our department. She volunteers to help us out with our outreach and Just Deeds, and she does a wonderful job there. Lynette Chambers. Lynette is the creative mind behind our award-winning Kids at Home program. She is an absolute rock star at managing that program and Section 8, and handled this waiting list with her team just marvelously. Latanya Dubois is our administrative assistant. You're also very familiar with Latanya. She ably helps to keep us on track with all of our staff reports, legal notices, mailings, and myriad other dates that we all have to keep track of in the department. And Celeste McDermott and Kate Aitchison are our housing specialists. You're also fairly familiar with those two, but they are wonderful at helping our Richfield residents to build new homes, buy their first home, make improvements to their homes, and so much more. They are the smiling faces that so many people see and think of when they think of our HRA programs. So I wanted to take that extra minute. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough couple of years for so many people, and our staff has worked so hard to help those in Richfield, and I'm so proud of them. I hope you are too. And that's it. We're here for questions if you have any.
Thank you. This is always my favorite meeting, to hear about all the wonderful work that you all have been doing and all of the things that have been going on. So kudos to everyone, and thank you so much. I'll open it up for other commissioners to chime in if anyone would like to. Commissioner Vries-Daniels.
Just a real heartfelt thank you. And I think it's so awesome when we get to see all of it together, and you think about all of the vastly different programs that we put together, from home ownership to renters to all the different things that you guys work on. You just don't ever forget anybody. And so I really appreciate that. And thank you for all the work.
Thank you. Commissioner Regan-Gonzalez.
Oh my goodness, I just feel speechless. That's phenomenal. That's absolutely amazing. And when people say like, oh, the housing crisis is something that we're experiencing across the country and there's nothing we can do about it, which I've heard so many times, it's just absolutely not true, and we can do things. And this is concrete proof, thing after thing after thing, that Richfield has been working to maintain affordability and be a city and a community that welcomes everybody and supports and does everything it can do to make sure that anybody can call Richfield home. And those stories are phenomenal. That's building generational wealth and stability and strength in our community. And I'm just very proud, and I thank our staff for doing that work. How do you even thank our staff for all the lives that they've changed and the families they've changed? It's awesome. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? I want to just throw in that I was driving down, I think it was Lindale, and saw one of the new manufactured homes going in to the park there. So that was really exciting to see that and see some of that coming to fruition, and like see this brand new home there that was going to be having a place. And I also was really impressed tonight. I learned some things about the new the first-time home buyers programs and all the different accommodations you made to help people. And I just really appreciate that. So thank you. Is there anybody else that would wish to speak? All right. Well, again, thank you so much for all of that's just wonderful to hear all of the different things that are happening. All right, we're going to move on to approval of the agenda for the rest of the meeting.
I'll move approval of the agenda for the.
Second.
All right, it's been moved to approve the agenda by Commissioner Reese-Daniels and seconded by Commissioner Riga Gonzalez. Can you please call the roll? Thank you.
Chair Supple,
Aye.
Commissioner Regan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Reese-Daniels,
Aye.
Commissioner Onosorg.
Aye.
Thank you. We've approved the remainder of the agenda. Next, we'll move on to the consent calendar, and I'll turn it over to Executive Director Palman.
Thank you, Chair Supple. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the HRA in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved. No further action is required on these items. However, any HRA commissioner may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar and placed on the regular agenda for HRA discussion and action. Item A on the consent calendar, consider a resolution of support for the development of affordable supportive housing for people with the lowest incomes on property located at 6613 to 25 Portland Avenue. Item B, consider approval of an amendment to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority Resolution number 1371 to identify the source of funds for an interfund loan for Tax Increment Financing District 2020-1, the Henley 2, as the Housing and Redevelopment Authority's general fund. That concludes tonight's consent calendar.
So moved, Commissioner Regan Gonzalez.
Second, Commissioner Reese-Daniels.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Riga Gonzalez and seconded by Commissioner Reese-Daniels to approve the consent calendar. Are there any comments or questions? The first item had to do with the Beacons project that was at a recent work session, and I'm very excited about this project moving forward. Any other comments? All right, City Clerk Sinning, would you please call the roster?
Threw me off there, Chair Supple. Okay.
Sorry.
Chair Supple,
Aye.
Commissioner Regan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Reese-Daniels,
Aye.
Commissioner Onosorg.
Aye.
All right, we've approved the consent calendar. Thank you. Next item is a public hearing and consideration of a resolution authorizing the sale of 6600 Logan Avenue South to Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity and the approval of a contract for private development for the construction of a single-family home. And we're going to have the staff report, but if anybody is wanting to call in for the public hearing, you can start queuing up for that at 612-861-0651. And now I'll turn it over to Executive Director Palman for the staff report.
Thank you, Chair Supple. Housing Specialist Kate Aitchison is going to provide our report tonight.
Thank you all. All right, Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity is proposing to purchase 6600 Logan Avenue South from the Housing and Redevelopment Authority for the development and construction of a single-family home that will be sold to an income-qualified buyer through their program. In 2020, 6600 Logan, along with 6600 Newton Avenue South, were conveyed to the HRA from Hennepin County following the reconstruction of the 66th Street project. There was no cost to the HRA to acquire these properties. The 2 remnant lots that we did acquire were designated for new construction in order to offset the loss of 18 homes that were removed from 66th Street prior to reconstruction. 1 lot was designated for new home program, which is affordable new construction, what we're talking about tonight. And 1 lot was designated for the Richfield Rediscovered program, which is market rate new construction. We knew we wanted to do 1 lot for each program, and there wasn't a specific lot set aside for either. The single-story home that is proposed for 6600 Logan Avenue will offer 1,919 square feet of finished living space and include 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a 2-car attached garage. Additionally, the home will be built with accessibility features such as a ramp from the garage into the house, widened doorways to accommodate wheelchair access, a roll-in shower on the main level, and added grab bars where necessary. Further, the home will be built to Zero Energy Ready standards, which results in a highly efficient home. The lot is 60 feet wide and a standard depth. Concerns over the project have been raised by the neighboring property owner, who struggles with extreme sensitivity to chemical smells. In order to offer reasonable accommodations to this resident, Habitat for Humanity has agreed to the following. First, they're going to position the house so that the garage and driveway will be on the north side of the lot and further distance from the impacted resident. This is a change, and we weren't able to get the updated attachments into your staff report. So when you're looking at the attachments connected to tonight's agenda, those would be mirror image. So the garage and the driveway will be closest to 66th Street and further away from this impacted resident. Additionally, they're agreeing to install signage on the property indicating that vehicles should not be idling unless necessary for construction. They'll provide the resident with filters or some sort of filtering device to help offset the impact of the construction smells and fumes, and commit to ongoing communication with the resident about construction phases and schedules to try and keep her updated so she knows when things will be really intense or when there's going to be the most disruption. And then regarding the dryer vent that was mentioned earlier, Habitat has reached out to the neighboring resident, and they're going to work with their HVAC contractor to see what is possible. That's kind of a tricky thing to move and alter, and so they're willing to explore it and see if it is possible. Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity and the HRA will enter into a contract for private development for the sale of this property and the construction of the home. The contract provides for the sale of the property for $1. And then I'll also add, that the irrigation and landscaping that's installed on the property currently, that was installed as they were doing it along 66th Street. And there was some lack of communication, but it got installed in the wrong spot. And so Habitat has agreed to help relocate those systems into the right-of-way. And so when this project is all said and done, there'll be a new home there with a similar fence and, complementing landscaping. So it'll look the same as the rest of 66th Street. And they'll be working to try and preserve as many of those plants as possible and get that system moved. So with that, I'll note that we have Chad Dittman. He's the land acquisition manager for Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity, and he's here to answer any questions, as well as myself and the other staff.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing and take the comments from the public that are in addition to what was said at open forum. And then after we close that, we can have questions for staff and the developer. So at this point, we're going to open up the public hearing. If you would like to participate, you can call 612-861-0651. And we'll give it a few minutes to see if anyone calls in. But at this point, Administrative Assistant Dubois, has anyone called in?
Chair Supple, we do not have any callers on the line currently.
Okay, so we'll just we can pause and wait for a moment to see if anyone is going to be calling in. We may have had all the comments earlier in open forum, but we'll wait just in case. Would it be acceptable for some of the questions to start getting asked while we're waiting to see if anyone calls in before we close out the public hearing?
Chair Supple, yes, I think you would be allowed to do that.
Okay. Because I know one of the questions had to do with the filtering, and I noticed in the development agreement, it mentions HEPA filters. Would that also, this is probably a question for Habitat, would you be open to also charcoal filters if they're needed in addition to the HEPA filters?
I guess, Madam Chair, members of the commission, my name is Chad Dittman. I'm Land Development Director at Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. I'm not terribly familiar with what a charcoal filter is, so I need to do some research on that. I have chatted with a neighbor a couple of times now, and she indicated that she didn't think that a HEPA filter would fit into her furnace. Plenum. So we're probably looking at independent standalone filtering devices. But I can definitely look into what a charcoal filter would be and what it would do.
You're breaking up a little bit, but if I understood you correctly, you've talked with the neighbor about the HEPA filters and they might not fit into the furnace, but that you would be providing a standalone device, but you need to do more research on the charcoal filters. Is that correct? Did I miss anything? All right, Administrative Assistant Dubois, has anyone called in?
Chair Supple, I do have somebody on the line now.
All right, and we'll let that person go ahead and they should state their name and their address.
Am I delayed?
Okay, just a moment.
All right, they're coming back on.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, go ahead and state your name and address and give us your input for the public hearing, please.
Okay, my name is Linda Wilkins. I live at 6645 Logan, and my neighbor who is wanting to ask the questions is Vicki Forslund, and she lives on Morgan Street, 66th and Morgan. And she's had a lot of concerns about that house also, as well as Sylvia. So just a moment. You're on the line. Did you talk to Lori? You're talking.
Okay. This is Vicki Forslund. I live at 6624 Morgan. And I'm wondering, with the property that's you're planning to build this house on, who is going to buy the property? Is it being sold at fair market value? Because the house went for quite a bit of money that they took out. And being that it's HRA, will those people be paying the amount like what the house is valued at, or they get a great big reduced price because of who they are and because being as a I just walked in the door here. I'm kind of winded here. I've been trying to get a hold to ask these questions, and that line was closed. So anyway, those are some of my key questions. Is the property going to go for fair market value? And another question I've got, are they planning to put a house on the corner of 66th and Newton? There's quite a large lot there. And are you going to be going through the same process with HUD Home on that deal too? So hopefully you can answer some of those questions for me. I really would appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll take all the comments and then we'll answer the questions at the end of the public hearing. Is there anyone else on the line?
Yes, Chair Supple, I do have another caller holding.
All right, thank you. Hi, you're online. Please state your name and address again.
Yes, I wanted to hear what this other woman was saying because my TV is in the other room. Okay, it's LVHSE again. It's 6612 Logan. I wanted to answer some of the questions having to do with the filter that I need that Chad was talking about.
Go ahead.
I should keep talking.
Yes, we're listening to you.
I have a filter alone won't take out smells. Have a filter takes out small particles. And as you need an activated charcoal filter that's all in one. And a friend of mine has one. It's $120. I would probably need at least 2 or maybe 3 filters to put in the house. Should I keep talking?
Yes, go ahead. We're listening.
Okay. And also, if they can put something up that would get my screen porches on the north side, and something needs to be put up to help with that. But I'm not sure what it would be. Because a plastic, and there's a lot of smell from the plastic. If the people might be interested in knowing, I was a flight attendant and I got hurt by all the chemicals on the airplane that got me so sensitive.
One question to clarify, where you were talking about putting something up, are you talking about like something to hang on your porch during construction? Or are you talking about like planting a tree for the future?
No, I'm talking about something to protect the screen porch, but I'm not sure what it's going to be. We talked a little bit about it, but if there can be more bushes put up to help.
Thank you. Did you have any other things you wish to add?
Yeah, I just wish I could go in and hear what they say on television. Do they screen the people that would be moving in? Are they screening quite a bit?
When we close out the public hearing, we'll go through all the answers to the questions that people have asked.
Okay. And you're gonna be voting tonight?
After the discussion, yes, there'll be a vote.
Yes. Is this Mary or is this Tanya?
Right now, you're talking to Mary. I'm chairing the meeting.
Oh, okay. I thought it might be you. It's good to see you on TV. And I'd be curious if they all got my letter and if they had any questions about it. Is Lee there tonight? I haven't seen Lee.
Yes, he's in attendance and everyone has received your letter.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify about that air purifier, that filter.
All right, well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us this evening.
Yes, thank you, Mary. Bye.
Goodbye, thank you. Administrative Assistant was there anyone else calling in?
Chair Supple, I do not have any other callers.
All right, then is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved, Commissioner Regan Gonzalez.
Second, Commissioner Vries Daniels.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Any other comments? All right, City Clerk Sinning, if you could call the roll.
Chair Supple,
Aye.
Commissioner Regan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Vries Daniels,
Aye.
Commissioner Onosorg.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We've closed the public hearing. Would staff like to answer some of the questions that came up during the open forum and the public hearing, please?
Sure. Let's see. So some of the first questions from one of the callers was about who will be buying the property. And that's not determined yet. This property hasn't been matched with somebody within Habitat's program, but that'll be happening soon after, this is finished tonight. If Habitat's awarded the lot, they'll, move towards closing, and then we'll begin matching a family with the property. And the way their model works is to help ensure affordability. The house will be appraised, and that'll be the end value. But the households mortgage will be based on what they can afford without, it being more than what a household should be paying for their housing costs. And then the gaps are funded with affordable housing funds through the state and through the county. And then it's also helped with offset costs from using volunteers to help construct the home, etc. The caller also asked about—
To follow up on that, the property taxes are paid though?
Yes, yep. And it's a conventional mortgage product. They have to qualify for the mortgage just like you or I would if we were applying for a mortgage as well. It's just that the amount won't match necessarily the final end value of the home. And they're estimating this might be $350,000, $375,000. So that helps a moderate income home buyer, find something affordable. Another question was about the fair market value of the land, I'm assuming. And the city didn't pay anything for these remnant lots. We were given them by the county. And so we're passing on some of that savings by selling it to Habitat for $1. And when we do that, we ask for added features. We ask for something that we don't have a lot of in Richfield. And so with this house, we're going to be getting an accessible home that will be, it will be an option for somebody in a wheelchair to have that single level living with the ramp and the roll-in shower, the accessible bathroom, etc. So we feel like that's an added benefit of working with Habitat in addition to the long-term affordability that their program provides us with. And then they're also going to be building to the zero energy ready standards, which is another great way that we know we're getting a sustainable and long-term product from this project. And the final question from that caller was about Newton Avenue. So that lot will be sold through the Richfield Rediscovered program. It goes through a similar process where we notify the neighbors that the HRA will be selling property it owns, and we'll have an open house as well, hopefully in person, or we'll have information available to the neighbors, and then we'll also notify them about the public hearing as well. We had the caller talk about the activated charcoal filters, and Chad mentioned he can do some more research on that. Let's see what else. I would just note that the plan, if this is approved tonight, would be for construction to begin in late May or early June. So there'll be a bit of time between now and when there'd be machines on the lot to iron out some of the details as well, and get that landscaping and irrigation system moved, etc.
So the development agreement says that the HEPA filters will be provided, and Chad's going to do research as far as the activated charcoal part, but we're going to work together with the resident to try and make sure the filtering happens. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay. And then there was the question about the screen porch or the protection of that.
Chad, could you speak to that? What are you thinking?
Yes, I'll try, and hopefully the internet gremlins are cooperating now. All right, good. Yeah, I was not quite sure what Sylvia was asking for at that moment. We've had a couple of conversations. And I think I just need to meet with her in person on site and talk about what we can do. So I've heard a few different things now, a few different ideas. So I commit to working with Sylvia to try to do as much as we can.
Thank you. Commissioner Onesorg, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Sylvia in regards to that screening. I know she had mentioned arborvitaes possibly as a natural screen. And I believe there are some on the property still, and if there's a way we could add natural screening, possibly at the beginning landscaping, and it's not at the end.
Yeah, right now, Madam Chair, members of the commission, there is quite a bit of shrubbery along that property line. some lilacs, arborvitae, and some pines further back. I need to get clarification from Public Works on how much of that they installed and want to see then moved to the north side of the lot. But I would certainly advocate for leaving as much of the existing shrubbery that's not going to be disturbed by construction there. I would be hesitant to add anything during construction. Construction is just kind of an invasive process. It's not going to be at the forefront of our minds to really care for new shrubbery like they should, I think. And I just think it wouldn't serve much purpose. But there's quite a bit there already, and hopefully we can just leave that there and work with that.
All right, Commissioner Reagan Gonzalez.
Could we go back to the question about the vents for the dryers and the washers and what the response was to getting those pointed? I think it was back behind the house instead of where the vents are located now. Could you just go over that part again, please?
Sure. It's only a vent for the dryer. The washer doesn't vent to the outside. The dryer would be located on the south wall. I can't answer the question because there are a lot of rules regarding all of the venting and intakes that have to happen in the furnace room. There's probably 6 or 7 different things that go in and out there, and they have requirements around how close they can be to other vents and windows and whatnot. So it's crowded. And we have our rear entry stoop going out the back above the mechanical room, which also would conflict with venting, and an electric meter somewhere back there as well. So we will ask our HVAC contractor to try to put it on the north side. But I just, at this point, don't have enough information to guarantee that.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And then I know another question Sylvia had asked about was about just that property being used for a park versus a house. And I just wanted to make sure that that got answered as well.
We it's been discussed earlier this week, but the park and those lots were always designated as remnant lots for housing to help replace some of the houses that were lost. The lots are smaller than what was there before, and so, you know, it won't be a 1-for-1 completely, but we're going to have 2 new housing units at the end of the process. The way they've been landscaped is beautiful, and so I can see why people, you know, kind of treat them as parks or think of them as parks, but they've always been designated for future residential use.
Thank you.
Other questions? So with regard to the dryer vent, I understand you're going to talk to the HVAC and try and do the best you can on that. If it's not able to be moved, will there be some work with bringing the neighbors together so they can work something out to make it so it's less of a problem? I think you're on mute.
Thanks. I'd need to find out, maybe in conversation with yourself and others, about what that might be. And the fact of the matter is that the city intends to have a house built here, and thus a house needs to be built here. And there's, I just don't think we can mitigate every fume that might emanate from the house or vehicles coming and going from the house. So, but it is, you know, in the area where we're talking about screening, I'm not sure what else we would do, but if there's other ideas, I'd be happy to hear that.
Thank you. Are there other questions? So if there are no questions from the public hearing, then we'll move on if someone would like to make the motion, and then we can open it up for the discussion and the vote.
I'll make the motion. Commissioner Regan Gonzalez.
Second, Commissioner Reese Daniels.
All right, there is a motion to authorize the sale of 6600 Logan Avenue South to Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity and approve a contract for private development with Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity for the construction of a single family home. Before we go to a vote, is there any discussion on the matter? Commissioner Reese Daniels.
Yeah, so I live practically across the street from this house. I see the lot out my front window. And I am very excited to see a house built here. I'm very excited for Habitat to be building a house here. I think welcoming new additional neighbors to our neighborhood is fantastic. And I also really appreciate Habitat and the city really working with the current neighbors and providing accommodations to help mitigate some of those issues that have come up. So I really appreciate that, and I'm supportive of this, so thank you.
Other comments or discussion? Commissioner Regan Gonzalez.
I'd just like to also reiterate some of the things that Commissioner Reese Daniels shared. Very thankful for the city staff who've been responsive to the neighbors, as well as Habitat for Humanity, and very thankful for Sylvia, the neighbor next door, and other neighbors sharing their concerns and following up, attending the community meeting. And I am requesting, I will also be voting in support of this, and I will be requesting that Habitat and staff continue to work hand in hand with Sylvia, the neighbor next door, given the medical issues that she faces and the impact that that's going to have on her directly. And I know that we've already changed a bunch of different things in order to kind of mitigate a lot of those impacts, and there will still be impact. And so I just request that we keep that open communication with Sylvia and other neighbors in the process and make sure that this is a smooth process for everybody, but very particularly for Sylvia, who will be impacted and experiences health issues.
Thank you. Other comments? I also have been appreciative of the way that everyone's working together, because I do think it's very important that we make these accommodations. And I'm appreciative of staff and the neighbors and Habitat for Humanity and everybody working together. And I'm hoping, as Commissioner Regan Gonzalez said, that the conversation will continue and then we can have ongoing support to work together and make sure that we make the accommodations that are necessary for everyone to be healthy. Are there any other comments? All right, then at this point, City Clerk Cindy, could you please call the roll?
Chair Supple.
Aye.
Commissioner Regan Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Reese Daniels.
Aye.
Commissioner Onosorg.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. And as I said, thank you to all who are involved, and let's keep working together and make sure that we do the best we can to make this work for everyone. All right, so next we have HRA discussion items. Are there any items that anyone would like to bring up? All right, I'm not seeing any hands raised, so we'll move on to the Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Chair Supple. I do not have a report tonight.
Okay, thank you. So then our last item are the claims.
So moved, Commissioner Regan Gonzalez.
Second, Commissioner Reese Daniels.
Right, it's been moved by Commissioner Riga Gonzalez and seconded by Commissioner Reese Daniels to approve the claims. Are there any discussions or questions? All right, hearing none, we'll call the roll or the roster or whatever we want to call it.
Chair Supple,
Aye.
Commissioner Regan Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Reese Daniels,
Aye.
Commissioner Onosorg.
Aye.
All right, the claims have been approved. Seeing that we have no further business, we stand adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.